What if I told you the guy who revolutionized basketball wasn't just a coach but a full-blown renegade? A man who turned the NBA into a playground for fast-break chaos, smoked blunts with Willie Nelson, and basically wrote the rulebook for modern basketball before anyone realized it. That's Don Nelson, and his story is wild enough to make you question everything you know about the game. Let me tell you why he's more than just a name on a list of great coaches. Think about this: when most coaches are trying to fit into the system, Nelson was the guy who showed up with a blueprint for anarchy. He didn't just win games, he weaponized speed, size, and sheer unpredictability. Picture this: a team with players shorter than 6 feet 7 inches lighting up the arc, running like they're on a caffeine drip, and making opponents look like they're playing 2K on easy mode. That's Nellie Ball, and it was decades ahead of its time. But here's the kicker: nobody else had the guts to try it until he forced the NBA to evolve. Without him, would the Warriors dynasty even exist? Probably not. His fingerprints are all over modern basketball, yet he's often treated like a footnote. That's the tragedy of his legacy. Now, let's talk about the man himself. Nelson wasn't just a coach, he was a character. He'd show up to games in fish-themed ties, host poker nights with celebrities, and retire to Hawaii to grow cannabis. But beneath the eccentricity was a guy who lived with unapologetic honesty. He didn't care about titles, he cared about joy. When he left the Warriors, it wasn't because he failed, it was because he found a better life. That's rare in a sport obsessed with winning at all costs. And yet, he's remembered more for his clashes with owners and his unorthodox methods than for the 1,335 wins he racked up. What does that say about the NBA's priorities? That it values trophies over innovation, or maybe just doesn't know what to do with a man who refused to conform. Here's the deeper thing: Nelson's genius wasn't just in his strategies, it was in his defiance. He took teams that were written off, turned them into playoff contenders, and then dared the league to keep up. When he coached the Bucks, he had Kareem Abdul-Jabbar on his roster. Imagine what could have happened if he'd kept Kareem instead of letting him go to LA. We'd have a different history of the 80s. But Nelson didn't care about legacy, he cared about the thrill of the game. And that's what made him unforgettable. Today's coaches copy his methods, but none of them have his fire. None of them would host a poker game with Woody Harrelson and then go smoke a blunt in Maui. That's the difference between a system and a soul. So, what's the takeaway? Don Nelson wasn't just a coach, he was a force of nature who changed the game and then walked away to live life on his own terms. In a world that rewards conformity, he was the ultimate rebel. And if that's not a lesson worth remembering, I don't know what is. What would you do if you had the chance to reinvent a sport, then retire to a life of cannabis, poker, and contentment? I'll take that over a ring any day.